So I'm Giles, and if you're here watching videos, probably means that you are really weird because the only video I've got views on is the one where I have a rant. It's because the word boobs is in the title. No, it's tits. The word tits is in the title, that's why I get views. But in this video, I'm going to talk about why I love pop punk. Now, as a kid, my dad would listen to like punk music, Sex Pistols, The Clash, and all that malarkey. So it was natural progression for me to listen to pop punk. It's kind of slightly more modern and more for teenagers, because a lot of songs are written for teenagers. The first pop punk band I got into was probably Blink. Blink is one of those bands that everyone probably has listened to. It's accessible to the masses because everybody knows Blink. Like, they might not know the name Blink, but everyone knows at least one of the songs. It's one of those bands that is there, and they've been there for a really long time. Everyone knows that they're there. Then I think I got into Green Day, because Green Day are pretty awesome. And then it was just a case of discovering more. And you just kind of discover different genres inside pop punk. Like, you go through phases. I know people say, when people say to you, oh, it's just a phase, you get really offended. But I've been through so many phases in my life. I can say that this phase that I'm in right now is probably just a phase. Give it about 10 months and I'll be different again. Like, when I got my hair cut, I was really getting into skinhead stuff, which is a bit of, well, if you know what skinhead is, then you know what skinhead is. It's quite confusing for me to explain. But now I'm not into skinhead stuff anymore, but I've still got the hair cut. I'm just growing it out, I think. I might grow it out. And then come up with a different hairstyle that suits what I'm into now. Like, I listen to quite a bit of grunge and stuff as well. I'm not particularly set at the moment. I'll listen to pop punk, I'll listen to some classic rock, I'll listen to some actual punk, I'll listen to subgenres, there's no set thing. I mean, I love ska, and I've always have loved ska. Quite a lot of pop punk bands have some kind of ska influence in some of their songs. But some of these you wouldn't really call pop punk, but they are pop punk, really. Yeah, it's just they were influenced by certain things. Like, you grow up with listening to certain bands because they are the thing. Now, with my generation, we don't have a thing. Like, in the 80s and stuff, it was a bit of a hair metal thing, and that was the big thing, how we see it now. But there was also other things going on. There was this big pop scene, but the pop scene didn't last. Pop scenes don't last. They are constantly evolving. It goes in kind of cycles, really. It's a bit like the sea, when the tide goes in and the tide comes out, it's constantly changing, it's never the same. That's what pop is. And with the alternative scene, there's layers. It's like the earth. You've got your layer of the dinosaurs, and then you get your next layer, which is like oil and stuff, and then you got your coal, and then you got your granite, and all the other stuff, all your layers. And the way the earth works is that layers just keep on getting added and added and added. So that's like how I see the alternative scene. You can just keep on adding, but it still exists. People still listen to that stuff. It's not restricted to a certain age. Like, I can listen to Metallica, and then the next minute I can listen to 5SOS. I know they're not particularly alternative, but they're a way of bringing pop music and alternative together. It's a good introductory method. So You have a friend who only listens to pop music. Say she really likes 5SOS. The next step for that is to get her into All Time Low. From All Time Low you can get her into Blink 182, because those two bands, there is a serious connection. And you get them into Green Day and all that stuff, and then you can slowly build them up to the heavier things. Like, it's important to slowly build up, not throw them in the middle if you're trying to get your friend to like the same kind of stuff as you. Because if you throw them straight into some heavy deathcore or something, they ain't gonna like it. It's gonna be too sudden a change in their taste. I mean, they might like it, but you'd be better off slowly building them, slowly exposing them, say, to your music taste. I mean, they've got to make their own way. They might not like Blink, but they might love All Time Low. They might adore Weezer and hate Sum 41. You know, it's just a question of taste. I know these bands are quite similar in some aspects, but it's, you know, finding your personal preferences. And I love pop punk because it's just the path. It's a nice introductory math, and it's quite relatable. Like, I don't want to be another casualty of society. That's quite punkish in the way it's written, because it's talking about issues that we face, but, you know, it's still, you know, like teenagers, my generation, we feel like we're under a lot of pressure, especially from our parents and stuff, because they want us to have a good life, and we have to make choices on our GCSEs and A-levels and what we want to do in college and university. And in England we're being forced into an extra year of education. This year's being forced into an extra 2 years of education, which I think is a good thing for people who actually want to learn. But for people who don't want to learn, they're not going to do anything. That if they're not doing anything, it's a waste of government money, which is basically your parents' taxes are paying for this person to be taught even though they don't want to. There was a girl on my course last year, well, back in when I was at college. She literally didn't give a shit. She would come to college and she would sit there with her My Little Pony toy and play on her DS. She wouldn't do any work. She wouldn't participate in lessons. She had no desire to be there. I mean, she had, like, minimal friends. She didn't try and make friends. There was just, she didn't want to be there. And she made it clear, but she couldn't leave because of the law. But she has no interest in it. She doesn't want to do anything. She just wants to play on her DS. She wants to watch her TV shows and live her life the way she chooses. And the idea of the government scheme was to actually make people learn and to make people experience things. Like, I have learnt so much in my year at college. Like, I've developed so much as a person. I am really different. And people say change is a bad thing, but change is a good thing. If I was the same person I was when I was still in school, I wouldn't be anything, really. I would have failed my course instead of getting my lovely passes. I probably wouldn't have half as many friends. I definitely would not have had the brilliant relationship that I did have. I wouldn't have done so much stuff because I was afraid. I'm not afraid anymore because I've looked inside myself and saw that I was a brilliant person. And I have a desire to learn. I love learning. I love knowing new things. But sometimes when you're learning all the time, it feels like you're not learning anything. But if you think back to last year, you did not know half of this stuff. I didn't know what a PD-170 is. I didn't know how to do a focus pull. I didn't even know what a focus pull was. And now I know so much stuff. I know that I'm really into vision mixing, live performances, and all of this stuff. As my development as a person, that was what the government wanted. They wanted people who knew what they wanted to do. People who would find a career in what they loved. Say, my friend Josie, I haven't spoken to her in a year, but that's because we went down different paths. I went down the path to a college 45 minutes away to do a diploma in a BTEC course in media, which is a 2-year course, and I am pursuing what I love. Now, Josie, she's an intellectual woman. She thrives on physical knowledge, sciences, maths, the Englishes, literature. She thrives on that. So she pursued that. She is going to university. She is going to be a really successful woman in her field. I want to be a really successful woman in my field. My field is completely different to hers, but we're both equally successful. We have different talents, and the government wanted us to pursue our talents, what we enjoyed, and that was the whole point of this extra year of education, to make us understand, You don't want to have just your GCSEs and go into some dead-end job as cashier. Yeah, someone has to be a cashier. There's always got to be a person to do that, because if we didn't have any cashiers, well, we don't have to do self-checkout, and that would be chaos. I mean, imagine doing a weekly shop on a self-checkout. Self-checkout. It would take the piss, and there'd be huge queues. And we need our cashiers. But we need more than cashiers. We need bankers. We need literature people. We need people who make our entertainment. We need film directors. We need actors. We need so many things in our lives. If suddenly no one made films, we would be stuck with all the films that we have. And that would just kill, well, not literally, but the idea is just to keep going. Because, there's so many different places you can work in. You could work in music, but there's so many different parts of working in music. You could work in film. So many different things you could do. The same with everything. You have a big bubble, or a pie. Pie's probably a better metaphor. And then within that pie, you've got so many different slices. You might want the really big slice. You might not like big slices and want the little slice. You might just like the crust. You might only like the filling. You've got to choose what you like. I know it's hard, and sometimes you'll make the wrong decisions. I know I've made some wrong decisions in my education, but I made the right decisions in the end because I made those mistakes. I know that I'm not good at sculpting things or running events. I am terrible at running events because I overestimate things. I expect really big. I am an optimist. I'm not good at running events. That's not for me. I'm not good at promotion. But I'm good at finding poses for people. There are some photographers on my course, or some women, one in particular, and she will have a model who is a really good model, but you need to tell your model what to do. She doesn't know what you want out of your pictures. You need to tell her. So if she's modelling some food product, like how you have your female yogurts, and you want her to model how delicious, seductive, beautiful it is, and you don't tell her how to pose, you're going to end up with her just staring at the product like, the fuck am I even doing? You need to... Photography isn't just snapping a picture. It's more than that. But until you do it, you don't understand. I mean, I enjoy photography. I quite like taking pictures of inanimate objects, plants, and that kind of thing. I also enjoy taking pictures of people, but not as much, because they're harder to control. Like, with a plant, I can have, say, a lily in a vase. Now I can choose the background. I can change the lighting more easily. I could have it in a small light box and have lighting from behind my camera and angle myself really easily. I can change the angle of the flower. I can put water on it to make it look like it's, early morning and dew. But with a woman or a man or a model, you can't do that. You have to help them express. You got to tell them exactly what they need to do. You're trying to sell a sensual candle, but you're trying to use a woman to scent. You need her in a casual pose, relaxing, but saying something sensual, which is often expressed through her outfit. It's these kind of things, and this has turned into a really big rant. It's a bit like a conversation, but one-sided. So, all of these things that I've talked about, they're really important to me. And it's really important that people understand them because they're just such big things. If you don't understand something, ask someone who will. You don't understand politics, ask your mom. Ask someone with a different political opinion. Go on the internet. The internet is a vast resource for us. I don't understand some things about politics, so I'll hop on Google, type in my confusion, and there will be multiple answers from different people. Because some people are pro the thing, some people are anti the thing, some people don't, just impartial, and you get the different viewpoints and it helps you understand. So if you don't understand, you need to find out, because it's important. If you're 18, you should vote because you can vote. You can research into these things. If you don't know, find out. It's important to know these things and do your bit for yourself. But yeah, bye, love you.